everyone, welcome to Maxim Foods Inside Track. Another beautiful day here in Brisbane, well into spring and well into the New Zealand and Australian milk seasons. Let's have a look at the commodities. Starting off with whole milk powder. So full cream milk powder has been jumping around a bit on the GDT over the last 2 to 3 events. Last night we saw a dip back of about 4% after a rise the previous week of 3.5%. So we're back on a pretty even playing keel from about a month ago. The futures market has been quite liquid. There's been a fair bit of activity on whole milk powder. People still seem to think it's are in the market and it's a good time to buy. The weakening Australian dollar is making things a little bit more expensive for imported goods, and we should see a reasonably flat outlook for whole milk powder with New Zealand seasons coming on and the likes of China still on the sidelines in terms of demand activity. Having a look at skim milk powder, things seem reasonably balanced on skim in the US. Still reasonably good demand in Central Southern America for US skim milk powder or non-fat. In the EU, things relatively balanced, lower milk, but demand is stable. In New Zealand, Australia, much the same story. So we're seeing not a lot of movement on pricing. Demand still there to swallow up the increased supply coming into the season. Having a look at Butterfat. So last night there was a bit of decline on the GDT. However, we're still seeing the New Zealand and Aussie butter being the cheapest globally. In the US, a well-balanced market is meaning that prices are remaining high, and the same in the EU. The rising retail pricing in the EU means, would suspect that demand is falling off, but it does seem reasonably balanced over there and prices remain quite firm. For the outlook of Australian New Zealand butter, Australian butter is still extremely tight and basically non-existent. New Zealand will be a bit of a wait and see to see over the next 2 to 3 months on how the production goes for the new season. We're seeing lower than forecasted milk in both North and South Island for the start of October, so it'll be an interesting balance and an interesting uncertain time for Butterfat. Having a look at cheese now, in the US there's a lot of production constraints for the back half of this year, so we should see supply down but demand reasonable, so pretty balanced there. In the EU, much like the butter, higher retail pricing still hasn't scared off consumers and things are quite balanced. In Australia and New Zealand, cheddar seems to be the best return or product mix for a lot of processors. So there is cheese being made and demand seems to be okay at the moment. So things are reasonably balanced across the globe. Having a look at whey and proteins, so sweet whey seems reasonably balanced. We've seen a bit of an uptick in demand from North Asia globally, so that is showing some promising signs and is keeping pricing quite buoyant. In the protein side of things, as you know, the WPC balance has come off a bit, so we have seen weakening prices on PC in the last sort of 6 months. However, that seems to be leveling out a bit. WPI still in red hot demand and pricing firm. In summary, macroeconomic conditions, there's still a lot of negative talk globally, which may continue to affect demand. Milk supply globally is still in the negative, so it'll be interesting to see whether this is balanced out in coming months. The US dollar being quite strong also may inhibit people's purchasing power. Imported goods coming into Australia as well will obviously be more expensive for the minute. So with global supply in milk being in the negative, we probably see a reasonably balanced outlook for the next 3 months. Thanks very much for listening to Inside Track. We'll see you in a fortnight.